You know what keeps me up at night lately? Not the usual stuff, bills, work, kids, but sure, those too. What really gets me thinking is how much the world has started to feel like the book 1984. You know, the one that we had to read in high school. Now stick with me here. This isn't going to be a lecture about literature or politics. It's about something much more personal. How to keep your head straight when it feels like the whole world has gone sideways. The other day, my kids showed me two different news stories about the exact same event. Same day, same place, but completely different versions of what happened. And it hit me. Truth isn't just hard to find these days. Sometimes it's being actively twisted and reshaped right in front of our eyes. In the book 1984, Orwell describes a world where the government controls everything, including the truth. People are forced to believe lies, and any real understanding of reality is erased. And while we're not living under Big Brother just yet, there are some unsettling parallels. Here's something most people don't know about. Back in 1987, the fairness doctrine disappeared. Before that, if you ran a TV station, you had to show different sides of controversial issues. It wasn't optional. If you didn't follow the rules, you would risk losing your broadcast license. Then that rule went away. Think about what that means. We went from a world where media had to at least try to show multiple perspectives to, well, whatever it is we have now. Everyone can pick their own version of reality and never have to hear anything different, whether you're watching CNN or NBC or Fox or whatever the case may be. Let me give you an example. Imagine watching the news in the 1970s. No matter what channel you turned on, you'd hear similar takes on major events. Compare that to now, where one channel says the sky is blue and another insists, no, it's red. Understanding how we got here explains why today feels so divided. Just like in 1984, where the party rewrites reality to suit its agenda. Then you add an absolute ton of social media pundits that don't even try to be fair and balanced, and things get really twisted really quick. Here's what we're dealing with, and I want you to really think about this. 1, we're surrounded by more information than ever before, but it's harder than ever to know what's true. 2, the tools that we use to stay informed are designed to keep us angry and divided. 3, real human connection is being replaced by digital illusions of connection. This is what Orwell called doublethink. The ability to hold two contradictory beliefs at the same time. It's what happens when you're bombarded with conflicting narratives and you don't know what to believe. But here's the thing. Unlike the characters in 1984, we're not powerless. We still have choices. We just need to learn how to use them. Let me share some practical things I've learned. Stuff that actually works. Rule number 1. When something makes you angry, especially if it confirms what you already believe, that's your red flag. The stronger your reaction, the more you will need to pause and ask yourself, why? Last week, I saw a post that got me absolutely fired up. I was ready to share it, call people out, the whole thing. But then I remembered this rule. So I stopped, took a breath, and did some actual research. 30 minutes later, I found out the story was completely twisted. Here's what I do now, and what I teach my kids. Check for the original sources. Don't rely on what people tell you about something. Find out what actually happened. Like if they say person Y said X in a speech and then show you a 5-second clip of someone doing just that, go search out the original speech and get the entire context of the statement. Also, follow people that you disagree with. Not to argue, but to understand. The more points of view you have, the broader your understanding will be. Next, set specific times for news and social media. Don't let it trip chaos into your brain all day long. And do you want to know what I consider the real antidote to all this craziness? Real human connection. Not the fake stuff online, actual face-to-face conversations. A while back, I made a rule for my family. No phones at dinner. The first few nights felt like withdrawal. People were shaking, sweating, whole 9 yards. But then something amazing happened. We started really talking about real stuff. In the book 1984, isolation makes people easier to control, but real conversations make us strong. When you talk to someone in person, no algorithms, no filters, just real, messy human connection, you're taking back control. You may need an aspirin or some good whiskey afterwards, but it's better than any like or repost you'll ever get in the digital world. Here are 3 practices you can start today. 1. The 24-hour rule. When something gets you fired up, wait 24 hours before reacting or sharing. 2. The source game. Before believing any news, find the original source so you can have a full picture, not just the soundbite that they're feeding you. And number 3, the reality check. Every day, have one face-to-face conversation about something that matters. These might seem small, but over time, they make a huge difference in how you see the world and how grounded you feel in reality. Look, I know this stuff isn't easy. It's easier to just go with the flow, to let algorithms decide what we see and think. But that's exactly how we end up living in the kind of world Orwell warned us about. The good news is, we're not there yet. Unlike Winston Smith, we still have choices. Every day, we get to decide, are we going to be passive consumers of whatever reality gets to feed us, or are we going to think for ourselves? I know which choice I'm making. What about you? Before I go, I want to hear from you. What techniques do you use to stay grounded in this reality? How do you build real connections in this digital age? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And remember, you're not alone in feeling overwhelmed sometimes, and that's why I wanted to have this conversation today.